Welcome to this edition of the SKNIS Week in Review. In this program, we recap significant activities of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis over the past week. Coming up, Prime Minister Harris participates in OECS meeting, cruise ship cancellations explained, all schools resume face-to-face learning, and the efforts to ban single-use plastics gain momentum. Those stories and more are next on the SKNIS Week in Review for the period January 21 to 27, 2022. Hello and welcome. Regional integration among member states of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, and the impact of the Omicron variant of COVID-19 on the sub-region were among two noteworthy matters that were discussed on Wednesday during the virtual session of the 71st meeting of the OECS Authority. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris, participated in the meeting, which was chaired by Grenada's Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, in his capacity as the chairman of the OECS Authority. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris, participated in the meeting, which was chaired by Grenada's Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, in his capacity as the chairman of the OECS. The delegates also considered issues related to education, tourism, and the sub-region's economy. The Republic of Cuba has appointed a new ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis. His Excellency David Rivero Perez presented his credentials to Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris during a brief ceremony on Tuesday at government headquarters.
I will take this opportunity to express the will of my government and my people to continue working together in order to promote the bilateral relation in areas of common interest. We have some common interests as climate change, natural disaster. We have to work together with the integration, regional integration. Have been doing. Of course, I want to express the gratitude of my government for the solidarity that we receive from the people and the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course for your support in our battle every year against the blockade of the government of the United States.
Prime Minister Harris welcomed the new resident ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis and highlighted an area where the relationship between the two countries can be expanded.
So instead of more scholarships, for example, in general medicine, MD, we want to find those areas where we have a great need to get our people to come as specialists, being able to contribute more. As a small country, we will always have a challenge of manpower, particularly at the level of specialist engagement, because again, the numbers of people, the pool from which we draw, is by nature small.
All schools in St. Kitts and Nevis has resumed face-to-face instruction. This week saw the opening of primary schools and forms 1 to 4 in secondary schools, as well as the Advanced Vocational Education Center. Early childhood institutions and the C.F. Bryant College opened earlier this month. On Monday, Minister responsible for Education, the Honorable John L. Powell, noted that regulations implemented to control the spread of the COVID-19 virus on campuses remain in place. These include the wearing of face masks at all times, entry and exit restrictions, and sanitizing procedures, as well as other health and safety measures.
We believe that the health and safety of all students, teachers, and staff must be given top priority. However, we also hold the view that the continuing education of students is paramount. The Ministry of Education wishes to repeat that in-person learning is best for our students. Therefore, we will do all in our power to ensure that the nation's children can learn in safe and healthy environments. School administrators and teachers at all institutions are required to continue the enforcement of the non-pharmaceutical measures given from the onset of the pandemic in 2020. Wear your mask, wash your hands, watch your distance, physically and socially. Additionally, our children ages 12 to 18 years can help to make their schools safe by getting vaccinated.
The importance of getting vaccinated or boosted, as the case may be, was also stressed on Wednesday by Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, Medical Chief of Staff of the Joseph and France General Hospital. During the COVID-19 briefing at the National Emergency Operations Center, Dr. Wilkinson noted that 5 persons recently passed from the virus over the past 7 days.
Most elderly, all unvaccinated, with pre-existing conditions. This overemphasizes the need for us to be our brother's keeper. We continue to encourage all to get vaccinated to protect themselves and those around them. If you choose not to get vaccinated and get infected, you remain at a significant risk of having severe disease and dying from COVID-19. If you do survive, you remain at higher risk of getting reinfected and still at risk of having severe disease and dying from COVID-19. The stark reality is that COVID-19 will continue to have a presence in our communities, but one that we should not allow to disrupt all of our everyday lives, as was the case in the earlier months of this pandemic. Its presence also does not have to be a death sentence for anyone. We have the tools to change that individually and collectively.
Cruise vessels continue to call on St. Kitts and Nevis at an impressive rate as efforts to rebuild the tourism sector continues. On any given day, it is not uncommon to see 3 or 4 vessels simultaneously docked in Bastia while another berths at South Friars Bay. However, there are occasions when cruise vessels have cancelled their scheduled calls. Abdia Samuel, chair of the National COVID-19 Task Force, explained how the virus aboard these vessels are driving some of the cancellations.
That some of these ships may have a 4 or 5% positivity rate on the ship, so therefore they themselves will take the position of not coming to our ports or our port here in St. Kitts and Nevis to dock, because they realize they already gone way beyond the threshold. And the fact that we have been flexible in having that range between 1 and 1.7, I think is rather commendable, and is important for you, the general public, and in particular those in the tourism sector, to know the flexibility that has been happening. So the way forward now, what do you expect? Where do we want to go? We have been discussing in terms of increasing the threshold. I cannot say to what number, because that has to take another round of discussions, and then this has to be taken to cabinet, and the federal cabinet will determine whether we are at a stage where we can absorb that particular risk in the country by increasing the threshold of the positivity rate percentage in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Efforts to ban single-use plastics in St. Kitts and Nevis is expected to gain momentum in 2022 as officials target 2023 as a possible implementation date, at least in some areas. Environment Officer Ninel Bonaparte said that banning single-use plastics is particularly important for the environment, as improperly discarded plastics often clog drains, harm land and marine creatures, and pollute the sea. She noted that Cabinet has requested that additional consultation be carried out with the public before such a ban is issued across the Federation. Telka Wallace, project coordinator of the Man in the Biosphere project, said that a project is being developed to help demonstrate how a ban on single-use plastics would work while sensitizing the public on the need for such a vital step. The UNESCO-funded Man in the Biosphere project coverage area includes Canada Estate, Keys, Keyon, and Otley's villages.
We are hoping that the MAB will become a pilot for the elimination of the single-use plastics. So, as Lionel was alluding to, we are, as we speak, we are writing a project to send to UNESCO to do the sensitization for that, so that we would have a whole year of sensitization, and then from the following year we could look at banning plastics in that area.
And finally, the St. Kitts Electricity Company Limited continued its Giving Back to the Community campaign last Friday by making a donation to the St. Christopher Children's Home. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Sean Richards, said that in the past, Skelec donated appliances to the St. Peter's Community Center. The Sandy Point playing field was assisted with lighting and organizations. He said that this latest donation was special.
Some may ask, why the children home today? It is because of that recognition that you have residents here at the children home, and just like any other child here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, they are valued. We at Skelec, we value all of our children. We recognize that these are going to be the future consumers of electricity here in St. Kitts and Nevis. But we just don't want them to be consumers of electricity. We recognize that they are going to be the future workers of Skelec. They are going to be the future managers of Skelec. They are going to be the future engineers of Skelec. And we want to be part of that investment in our children. If we invest in our children, we are helping to build our communities. If we don't build our communities, we will not have any communities. And so the children, they are an important part of our community.
And that's all for this edition of the SKNIS Week in Review. For more information on these and other stories, visit us at sknis.gov.kn. I'm Ian Richards.